Right, everybody here, welcome to tonight's meeting, the members of the Governance Committee. Thursday, the 10th of July, 2025, the time is just after 6:30. We'll go straight into it, so I hope everybody's of the same opinion as me. We'll try and fly through this. It's hot, it's been a nice day, but we'll kind of get away from here to make the decisions and have a nice evening for what's left of it. So here we'll go.
That's 10 minutes.
Apologies for absence. I think Martin has got, we got them.
We've got councillors Peart, Carr, Jones, Nicholson, and Closer. Don't know, that's it.
Anybody else?
No, that's it's me.
Item 2, any disclosures of interests and any grant of dispensations.
That's been non-provided from the chair.
Done. Flying through to item 3, minutes of the previous governance committee. These minutes, the meeting held on the 24th of April 2025, have already been approved at the annual meeting of the council held on the 9th of May 2024. It says the amount of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25.
So it says 24 to take what they want. Happy?
Yeah.
Yes. Actions arising from the previous minutes, there's none. Item 4. Item 5, budget monitoring, all committees. I'm going to pass you over to Malcolm just to give you a bit of a rundown of that. And you've got the income and expenditure account to look at. If you've got any questions after Malcolm has addressed here, just put your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. For the governance committee, we always provide the 3 committees for you to have a look at, consider, and pass comment on. At this part of the year, only, just a few months into the year, we've recently considered the Environment Committee and the Community Development Committee. In the last few weeks, there's been some slight, increases in the expenditure. So it's really just the Governance Committee that members are seeing for the first time, if anybody's got any questions on it.
I haven't got any questions on now, because it comes up with like most of the committees, but just feel free to fire some questions if you've got any. If not,
Yeah, Chair, item 7004, Southview 23rd Avenue. I think I've mentioned this before. The name needs changing. Southview allotments doesn't exist anymore. We could call them Plessy Road 23rd Avenue instead of Southview. And I'd like to know what's going to happen with Southview. We've given it up. Or who owns it now?
Yeah, it's not ours. We only managed it. Well, Blythe only managed it. Bristol County Council.
You.
23rd Avenue has been changed. It has been changed something on a number of things, but just not on this document here.
Thank you.
Just a question here.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned to me about the allotments. I have got an allotment at my own. They told me that the allotment rents haven't gone up for a while. I don't know, can you confirm that at the end?
We've been here through one rental year, so I'm not sure what the rent was before that. So
Yeah,
The only thing I'm thinking of, Malcolm, is all the allotments that are funding ourselves. I really don't want to see them making profit, but I don't want to costing the council either.
no, well, there's a couple of questions there, Councillor. First one is that don't know which allotment site you're talking about at the moment, where you said.
I'm thinking of the combined allotment.
Yeah, well, the rents, in line with the budget exercise that we were carried out, that council approved in January, there was an increase in rents.
Right.
I'd have to get back to the exact number. I think it was £5 per plot, I think. The way we do the rents, the council on the council managed sites now collect the rent from the 1st of October. on one allotment, managed site, which is Bowling, they're still in line with the April, the 31st of March. So we'll be sending out bills in the September time, which will reflect the increase. That was agreed last January. I think it was fine. But I'll get back to you if there's anything different. But on the other question you asked, the council have been looking so that on revenue costs, it doesn't have an impact on the council taxpayer. It's only when you have a little bit of capital involved, such as water systems, that it falls on the overall council taxpayer. But the way we look at some of the capital spend is you spend to save. So by putting in new water systems, for example, it might cost you 20,000, but you're going to get that back in 4 or 5 years because you haven't got the leaks and the wastage and things like that. So that's the way we tend to look at that, unless it's for example, boundary fences where you've got to do it for safety. But on the revenue side, it's managed.
Yep.
Yes, Chair, item 5001, the mayoral allowance, I'll just like to let the members know I've received an allowance. And I'll be putting in receipts to prove that the allowance is actually justified for the mayoral duties in the future. Thank you.
The reason that, what was that called?
5001.
5001, the civic, yeah. There's a budget on there, but there's no expenditure on there at the moment. I mean, you said you'd received.
Yeah.
But the way these systems work is, the county council recharges with whatever staff salaries and mayoral allowances that are paid. At the point in time of doing this, although you might have been paid, the county council hadn't invoiced it for it, so we couldn't put it in this. That's the reason why it isn't sure.
It was just to let the members know.
Yeah.
So can I just ask, 5006 gifts and corporate items, what exactly is that?
What is this? Sorry?
What's gifts and corporate items, 5006 under civic?
Yeah,
What's that?
that would be if you're getting a visitation from the Twin Town, Dorlingham, when they come across, when they get some items that they can take back to Germany, which signifies that, something
Right.
within the town.
Oh, but we don't do the Twin Town, do we? Or do we?
There is it's not a council function, but there is an independent group within the town that still go over to Germany, and the Germans still come over here. I will have to say that there are 2 people within a room currently on that group, and that's and I'm actually on it as well as that was a council member. Eh?
Just say me name.
There's 2 people.
Well, I was going to say who it was, but but what the council have done in the past though, is that when the German group come over here, we do have a proper a social civic night to welcome them to the town, and the councillors and their partners are invited to that. It isn't happening this year though.
It's only when they come over here. They haven't been over for the last 3 years. But I know why.
Is there any reason why they haven't been on that 3 years, do you know? Or not?
There's been a complication with being in the unit.
Oh, right, yeah.
I've had a complication with
Doing that.
the chair and the vice chair. If they bring people over here, they've got they're responsible, so they could be out of pocket.
Right.
Because it's put the cost goes to them. But they have found somebody to bring them over this year, and unfortunately, the twinning is they haven't got enough bodies to come over. So we're going over there next year, but it's no expense to the council.
Right, yeah, because there's no like allowance for that, is there?
No, there's no
Yeah.
allowance
No.
for it. We do a fundraising for it.
Oh, okay, right.
Can I ask about the events, just a comment really? It's good to see we're getting income of the vendors now. I think that's really good that we're starting to get them, so well done to Julie, she's doing a heck of a lot of good work.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I collect the rubbish at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning for the town fair. I was
Did
up
you?
with them, so I was
Good
up
lad.
there sticking, collecting the
Good
rubbish.
lad,
Oh,
well, they were there.
like, spotless,
That was good,
fantastic
really
job.
good.
Well, we've got people going around now, which is a good idea.
Yeah,
There was some volunteers going, and that they'd already volunteered to do it. And they did a brilliant job, so this is
Yeah,
what's not
definitely.
happening.
Good.
It was, it was really clean, so that was after
Totally.
Blythe Live.
All right, the next
yeah, I mean, for the amount of people that were there, you know, and the next morning was just,
she was leading by example, it was good to see.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant because like I say, she's doing a hell of a lot of good work. Now, I mean, the carnival on Saturday, I know Lead and Link run it, but we own it. So I think what she's doing there, she's doing a fantastic job on it. So I just think the work that she's putting in, I'm not being funny, but she's absolutely,
And most importantly,
Amazing.
you've got a lightning show right at the end, so.
Yeah.
That was good, you know.
Took a bit of organising.
That was good. At the right
I
time.
was in the toilet when that happened and I
Oh
come
my
inside
God.
them.
Was it tin
Everybody's
one, was
running away and I thought, what's going on here? And then I thought, oh,
All
never
we had to
mind.
do was wait for the 90 seconds it would do.
Yeah.
right, basically, rollers, I couldn't sing that last song.
Well, they're gonna, I think what they're gonna do, if it's all right with members, I think Julie's talking about putting them on first next time.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
I mean, she'll be open to it, you know, because
Yeah,
there's a conversation I
yeah,
had,
yeah,
so it hasn't come to fruition, but I think it'll be brilliant.
yeah, they said it last.
Yeah, I think
Certainly
that's
As
good.
far as the Live Festival is concerned, I mean, the performances that were on stage were absolutely fantastic.
Good deal around,
Right.
really good.
I was very surprised at the quality of the whole thing was really exceptional.
Yeah.
She's doing a brilliant job.
Yeah, cool.
I'll move on from that now if I can.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have just a little one. 12011. Sorry if I say the obvious, but just to remind you, we've got 1,000 per year. We're a quarter into the year, and I'm sure there's people been asking for that money, so if you could consider, we'll try and get it spent to those that really need it if we can, you know, so. But I know we've all been busy, but just a reminder if you need to ring, you know.
Sorry, just on that as well, we received an email today, actually of Julie, reminding me of that and showing
Yeah,
the
very good.
procedure and everything of that as well. I read that earlier on, so.
Right, thank you. Moving on to item 6, I'll just have a little quick see before we pass it on to Lane. It's, as county councillors, we're gonna do this DB like anyway. Which I think is a good thing. Coming on to whatever you see in a minute, it's, I don't know if you can double that up, Malcolm, as county councillors. Not having to do a duplicate certificate for the town if it gets through, but that's what we're doing. So,
I can't answer that question. The DBS report is here and I don't have anything additional to add to it. It is not compulsory for town councillors to undergo DBS checks, but it has been suggested that we might do that to promote good governance and demonstrate commitment, etc. It's entirely at the discretion of the town council.
But just ask a question on that. Just ask a question
Yeah,
on that. The local government at NCC is ruled by the government, but the Blythe Town Council is not voluntarily. So I still think we should need to do a separate one from that.
yeah.
Because it's important when you're meeting your residents and that, and I totally agree with it. Thank you.
Yes. So I think, assuming everybody's read the report, which I have, I'll just put a show of hands that the recommendation is that this council, you know, develops and implements a local policy and the rest of the rating to agree on it, or do we need to show it?
Great.
I think it's unanimous. Happy to move on?
Yes, please. Sorry, if I can just add to the chairs, this committee's obviously put their weight behind it, so we'll be asking the council next week to adopt it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then after next week, it'll be council policy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 7, there's a recommendation for an insurance review of the town's assets, and they're gonna ask us to consider, the insurance review, which Martin will give you a little bit of background now.
Well, apologies, before I start. The report, it gets a little bit heavy in the figures later on, but I'm trying to simplify it if I can, but it's been a previous policy where we ensure what we've got to do, like employers' liability and things like that. We've got an insurance company for that. Plus, we insure some of the assets that we don't own. They are legally obliged to do that, such as some of the artifacts, like let's say the bottom. So we insure all of those. What the council don't insure is anything that's outside of this building, such as play areas and seats and what have you. And it's always been felt that because of the risk, and you know, you look back over, and that can never be a thing for the future, but you look back over, and it's always been deemed that we will just self-insure. So by self-insuring, we were advised by the insurance company that for the assets we had, which was over 3 million, we should have a 10% self-insurance pot, and that's where we held that within reserves. Now, I've tried to, on the graph, on that graph there, I've tried to explain that at this point in time, going into at the end of March, which was the last day of our accounts for last year, we had 1.1 million in reserves. But they weren't reserves that we could just think, right, what do we want to do? What do we want to spend it on? Because the government themselves say through good practice and all the, you know, the various accounting and other agencies, we should have 25% of our budget as a reserve. So that's where you get the 373, nearly 400,000. And the self-insurance fund, that is earmarked as well. So we were left with 397,000 on the 1st of April that potentially, you know, it looked as though we could spend that because it was a reserve. But our medium-term financial plan doesn't look at just this financial year, it looks ahead. So we've looked ahead for the next 6-7 years. And this is where the graph gets a little bit heavy, if you like. And I think my plan is for before budget time, we'll probably have an hour on this before the governance meeting. But basically, if we look at this year, and you'll see, or you could have seen if you're quicker. But
I was trying to get rid of the box at the top of it.
But this is the start this year. Now, between the reserves that we've got actually in the bank, which is a 1.1 million, to what we actually need, there's a £397,000 gap. That's the position at the minute before you make any decisions tonight. Now, over the next 7 years, 6-7 years, these figures are based on what precept we're getting in, and which, I mean, it's something like 1.45 or something million we're getting for this year, and the expenditure for this year. But what we do is we look ahead for the next few years. Now, if we treat this year as a base year, the 1.45 million, that, for example, includes a budget of about £30,000 to pay the county council for the county elections and the town council elections. And we pay the town council element of it. So we think £30,000. So when we build up the expenditure profiles for the next few years, we make adjustments saying, right, well, next year, the year after, we don't have town council elections. So we'll not include 30,000 in that spend. This year, we've got 2 play areas. We're doing a Cottingwood Green. And I'll mention that later on of particular interest here in St John's Wood. So we had a budget of 130,000. Now, next year, and I can't remember if it's the case, but we may not have a play area to refurbish. So immediately from this year's expenditure, the base figure will be dropping out to 130,000. But we might have in the objectives to do something else next year, we might be adding something in. So it goes up and down from the base figure based on the current objectives of the council. In looking at the expenditure, we also take other things into account which the previous council have set as their objective. The objectives being, and this is where we've got to look at future inflation. We don't have a magic, crystal ball on that. But coming out of the problems we've had, the effect of COVID, the effect of, Brexit, everything like that, we are allowing within our medium-term financial plan 3% on expenditure each year. We might look at it in 6 months' time, we might say it's got to be 4 or 5, or maybe 1 or 2. So we've got to look at the financial markets to see what inflations we're going to apply to this medium-term financial plan. We are looking at a 1% increase on the precept, which in an area of deprivation we don't think is of significance to have any material effect on people. 1%. Certainly council tax at the county will be a lot higher. We are not anticipating any increase on the tax base, because when we calculate council tax, we look at a figure of what you call Band D properties in the area, and it's currently about 11,000. But that's not. It's a bit of a misnomer. It's not the number of Band D properties. It's a kind of weighted average. And to that weighted average, you've got to look at the deprivation within the town, the amount of benefit that we're paying, because the county council can and can't claim certain benefits. So that's got to have a knock-on effect of what we have our council tax base based on. So we take all of those into account, and that's when we get the different big gaps here. 394,000. I've got the details on a sheet of paper, but you can see there, we've got more balances, so the gap is even bigger. But you've got to look at the very smallest gap, and that's in the last year. And in that last year, we've got a gap of 139,000. So that means when you look at 6 years, the only money you've got free, if you like, is 139,000. Because if you spent 139,000 this year, it would reduce this, it would reduce that. But when you got to this year, it would mean that the council would be on minimum balances. That's under the current self-insurance pot. If you change that, it means that you would basically have an extra 330,000 available as a reserve. But to keep the model going, the fact you'd have to have extra insurance, you wouldn't have 330,000, you have a little bit less. So what we're trying to say is that it would release additional funds. We'll have to pay more money out on insurance. It would release additional funds, and it would mean that the council would have, over the next 6 years, about 367,000 as a best guess at this time, to have the flexibility to do something with. Now that's either spending more or bringing less in. Because you could decide, let's build something, or you could decide, let's reduce the council tax. So these are all options that you cannot decide on straight away. These are decisions you can only make when you look at objectives and see where you want to go from here as a council.
So just to simplify things, are we currently working on a self-insurance basis, or are we paying insurance for them?
We work on a self-insurance basis, but everything outside of this building.
So we're currently saving 300,000 a year.
We're having a pot,
Yeah,
to mitigate any issues about those. Yes.
So over the 6 years, we would be saving 6 times £300,000.
No, it's the same 300,000 that gets carried from year to year.
So the second year, you don't save anything. If you don't take any, so,
You lose the cost of the insurance policy.
so do we not pay an annual cost for insurance?
We pay,
For outside things, that's what I'm.
no, we don't pay anything.
So it's, and on an annual basis, is that saving £300,000?
No, the saving by having a self-insurance pot is about £17,000, because if we had to insure all of our bush shelters and play areas, war memorials, the premium would be in the order of 17,000. But we'd only get the exact figure when we get into a very much detailed conversation with the insurance company.
That's per annum.
Yes,
I mean, if I had the benefit of Total Mountain, but it was for a good half hour, 6 weeks ago, so if you imagine, we've got £3 million worth of asset, play parks, bush shelters, flower beds, whatever, seeds, and imagine them all getting attacked at the same time and demolished. To replace them would cost for £3 million. But we've only earmarked in the budget, if I'm right, Martin, 360 grand at 10% of it, because we think, doing the calculated risk, that the chances of every asset getting attacked at the same time is not going to happen. So there's 10% being earmarked for those assets that might get attacked or demolished by a bus or a car or something like that, motorbike. But I think it's a great idea that it does release that amount of money to, I think, the general fund. I don't know, for 17 grand, but I would probably still ring fence the 617s. I would probably budget the ring fence that for 7 years, and then just what would the excess be, and would that 17 grow year on year, and secure that so that it's always ring fenced as we've covered for 7 or 8 years. And I think the insurance policy is a no-brainer.
If that you're reading my mind there, because that's where I was going.
Aye.
So instead of like spending the money,
Yeah.
just keep it year after year. So basically what we're going to have is 17,000 times 6, which was saved on insurance, which will offset any costs where we may have banners and costs incurred, which we would be claiming insurance, but we're not paying insurance. So,
But this is recommending that we'll consider bill paying insurance. That's what we're recommending here.
yeah, it's recommending that
That's
obviously
that
you consider the two options. I must admit, can you just say a bit again about the insurance? I think I got a bit.
so the question was, are we spending 300,000 per year in insurance, or is that like an offset?
No, it's just like if you like you keeping £5,000 in a bank account just in case you have some car repairs or something.
So the next part is what we're actually saving is 17,500.
If we
Yeah.
don't get the insurance.
If we carry on with self-insurance, so if we carry on with keeping the £300,000 in your bank, as it were, or saving the 17.5, as you've just said there.
Which will escalate on a year-to-year basis.
Oh yes, it'll go up. But I mean, the way we've done the financial modelling is that if we look at £17,500 this year, because of the way we allow 3% in the budget and what have you, we're really addressing increases year on year. The way we've done the financial model.
But can I just say what you must take into account is that should there be an insurable claim, then that's 17 grand. So if we went to start a year, end of year, no claims, we've spent 17, we've lost 17 grand. Start a year, 30 grand, we've saved 13 and maintained the reserve that we've got more to release to whatever. I think personally, on an asset of £3.5 million, 17 grand's peanuts for protecting the assets, rather than keeping that amount of money at 10% of the value, just in case someone does need replacing or a bus gets. Bus, I mean, I say buses because I've seen buses go to bus shelters and motorbikes and cars, and that's where you're going to get damaged play parks. Fires in play parks.
My bus, Chair.
Not your bus.
The was ripped right, man.
I think all I'm looking at is the bigger picture, because you've got 16, 17.5,
Over 6 years, yeah.
yeah. So that would be added to the pot at the end, if we didn't spend that 17,000 and we saved it. But, I mean, we've already got a situation, we've got vandalism in one of the, are we having to pay for the, put that rate?
Yes,
So that's gonna come out that pot now, isn't it?
well, I mean, we do budget as well for minor repairs and, you know, minor breakages and things like that. And for anything on a larger scale, we would have to say, right, you know, the budget that you've just been looking at isn't going to accommodate repairing it, you know, 10 pieces of equipment in a play area that was mentioned before, you know. We'll have to have council's permission to take, you know, £50,000 from reserves. And you would have to agree it that way. And that would then reduce the balances that we've got.
So what's the historic, expenditure that we've had over the last 6 years? Have you any idea what that is
On,
for acts of vandalism and damage to the things that we've got to pay for?
we have had damage to bush shelters where they've been completely wiped out and we haven't been able to make a claim from the right. It has gone into thousands, but some of the vandalism, you know, we know who the people are, but the police, for whatever reasons, can't take it further. You know, it's not in the interest to take it further. In certain cases, you've got to evaluate all of this. But there's been lots of small things, which you couldn't get the insurance companies to pay out for anyway, and it would take that long. So it's sometimes, you know, when you go through this thing, and I would suggest insuring all of the 3.3 billion. Actually, it's something that we could do. I wouldn't recommend it, because on certain other things, you know, you might get back 100 quid. You know, so you might have your excesses, you might have damage of you know, 500 quid, you might have an excess, you might get 150 quid, but it might cost you 2 days of administration to try to get that 100 quid back. Plus, at the end of the year, as was suggested before, it isn't 17.5 anymore. To stay right, never mind the increases in inflation, we're going to add another couple of thousand, because you know, a lot of problems are in your area which you hadn't, you know. This NE24 may be a particular bad areas insurance for us to make say, right, instead of 17.5, you're paying 20.5.
You see, the thing is, the reason why I'm asking this question is I used to work in insurance, right? And the insurance companies never lose money, right? It's a bit like a gap. It's a gamble, right? They're gambling, they're charging you, and they're gambling that you're going to pay them more than what you're going to claim. And the way I see it is, and it's as far as I'm concerned, it's as clear as daylight. We're going to be paying, where the money that the council's spending is going to be more than what they're actually going to get at the end of the day. Because you mentioned a very important thing there, excesses. By the time you do all the administration work and you get the money that comes in, it's going to end up costing you more money than you're actually claiming for a lot of the things that's going on. And I think that the £17,500 given to an insurance company is a total waste of money.
I mean, if I could just say, and I mean, Elaine can elaborate on this. I don't want to particularly say the name, but Elaine previously worked at a council that just built the play area. And within weeks, the whole thing was just destroyed, and I don't know how much you pay for that, Elaine.
It was part of the play area, it was a new toddler end, it cost £40,000 to be installed, and somebody came along, doused it in petrol, set the whole thing on fire.
You know, Blythe have been fortunate. We haven't had the degree of vandalism. I think, you know, you might see the graffiti. Yes, there's been some of it unpleasant in its references to, you know, the various things. So, you know, we are working to try to address that. That's our biggest problem at the minute. We don't get a lot. We have had some vandalism of play equipment, of fences, of bush shelters, of things like that. We have had some. But I don't think, in talking to the police, that it's been as bad as other places, which you might think would be worse, would be better in the area. So I don't think it's a bad place.
I think you make a very good point, but we have got to think of the wider picture and balance the advantages of releasing 17 grand as a loss, we'll call it, and getting nothing for it, against the future risk of what might happen, against what we can do with the money that's allowing we to release. So we can release, say, 60 grand a year to buy another kids' play park or whatever. So there's a very good point that you make, but I think the risk factor is 70, we'll find out what the excess is. Is it going to grow? Could we try for 1 year or 2 years and have a break close? Does it have to be for the 6-year term?
No.
But I think we know all the benefits of the asset that's unprotected at the minute. Like you say, if we just get that one, we don't know, nobody can predict the future. We would hope nobody attacks it. But if just one attack could be 20, 30, 40 grand, we've lost. And what's the likelihood in the risk of 3 million quid worth of assets getting any kind of damage, whether it be vandalism, wind, I don't know, any natural disasters, whatever? I think it's a small sum. I hear what you're saying, you mean,
The thing is, Barry, a lot of these playgrounds, right, all the stuff's made out of steel, right? So you get somebody pouring pepper all over the steel and the set firewood. Just get a painter and decorator along to clean it up and fix it.
Is that Richard coming? Well, you've got to tell me, you go and answer that question.
Yeah, it was
Put out then, Richard.
in response to that, whilst the structure of play equipment can be steel, a lot of the boards on it are like a formica kind of material, and the safety surfacing as well tends to be rubber mulch. So it's not just, I mean, the steel, yeah, perfect shape, buckled maybe in places, I think. I didn't go and look at it in detail. I'd left the council at the time. But the board's completely ruined, and the safety surfacing, which the safety surface is probably the most expensive part of it. Yeah, ruined.
And just find it before Rich painters are about 100 quid no as we'll know, so that everybody's there now, so. Rich,
I just wanted to ask a question, and perhaps perhaps some of the councillors have been here longer would know. How long have we been self-insuring for? And has it been successful up until now?
It's been successful, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Not had any major issues with
Not
self-insurance?
at all.
And it seems to run practically, and you've not had any major issues to deal with. And if you have had an issue, you've had enough here in your pot to cover it.
Small issue with one of the parts getting.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, there has been, like I said before, there has been, Kath used to liaise a lot with Kath on things like this, but small, but nothing, nothing that I've seen
Nothing
elsewhere. But it's certainly been in place for as long as I've held a position here, an officer position here. And lots of other councils actually do it. Blythe Valley did it, the county council did it, and I'm sure they still do it now because the insurance officer used to work for us at the time. So there's lots of organisations actually do it for some of the points that have been mentioned. You just look at the risk, you take it on. But it's up for, as I say, I had a good chat with Barry, a few weeks ago. That's why I did a little bit of work on it. And it is up for discussion and for recommendation to council. But something, I can't remember which that might be new, but certainly it is something that you could say, right, if you wanted to insure, we could say straight away, can we change our policy to reflect this? We could bring it in, probably be brought in the next couple of months or so. Because I say that the money would be there, but then I think it's a case of having not just doing it committee by committee about what you want to spend a little bit on. It's about a more formal approach, getting council together, saying I've agreed this way for now, and revisit how you spend the money in line with the objectives, whether they're maintaining the existing ones or new ones. And then you come up with, how does this fit in with financial plans and things like that, and that helps you form an idea how to go forward with the money.
Like you see, that's so, this is sort of just a recommendation for full council. You can ask the questions again, just read up on it.
Absolutely. I mean, my thought, I mean, I'm just throwing my hat in the ring here. My thoughts are, I'd probably like to continue this system. Yes, that's my thoughts on it, because it seems that you've got a little bit of leeway in that, and there's potential, as Malcolm was saying earlier, for sometimes you might have a little bit that you can offset to perhaps, you know, spend on a play park or something of that ilk. So my thoughts, my recommendation would be to continue with the same.
Yeah, and I would agree with you there, because even if it costs £40,000 to get a playground done, that's 3 years' money, but at the end of the day, say over the last 3 years, we've saved £51,000, so it's been covered already.
And as you said, for as long as you can remember, you had the system for. So how much insurance money have you saved between then and now? So I'd be in favour of keeping.
I think coming into it, doing is wrong, it's good to have the debate, and I think you've got to like try and exhaust it, but looking at the benefits as well, taking into account, you know, we've got 10% of the budget, 10% of the estimated cost of the asset held, outweighing that for say £1.60 per resident per year would release, you know, another player part to the community by doing this. So there's a few things to balance, but you make some very good points, and I think there's no rights or wrongs here, but because none of us can predict the future, so it's like everything, we'll get away with it for 10 years, the council start till 9 or 30, whatever. It's not to say next year and I have a claim for £200,000. That's the risk that the council takes by being self-insured. In my opinion and advice is I would always like to be insured for something that might never happen, and it is a waste of money. You know, it is a waste of money in a year's time. But then in 2 months' time, if we did get that total wipeout, or we did get 2 or 3 incidents at the same time, it might never have happened before. We'd have like, you know, a bit of embarrassment that we haven't insured what assets. So it's open to debate.
It's like having a car insurance,
Yes.
you know, touch wood, I've never had to claim, doing that.
In 50
But
years.
the insurance go up every year.
Yes.
But you never know what's around the corner, and then you end up with egg on your face.
Dead right.
It's not, I know insurance companies make lots of money, and it grieves me that they do, but they're there for a purpose. And with the modern world, you never know what's going to happen. You see disasters happening everywhere, you see all kinds of problems.
Even on
And
that
especially-
premium and an excess and all
And
that.
especially nowadays, young people just treat stuff and anything with contempt. You know, they find, I watched kids just this afternoon taking cones off Broadway and put them in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
On the circle. Now, you know, that's a simple thing. Kids just don't care anymore. They just vandalize whatever's around. A lot of them, not all of them, but there is a lot of vandalism around, and we've got to be prepared for that. We don't want to end up with egg on our face for the sake of what seems like it is a lot of money, but we need it. It's essential.
I mean, there's a lot of really good points, and you've got the experience of being an ex-insurance man or whatever. But if we can move on and we can get a recommendation from somebody or a proposal in the sector, or carry it forward, you kind of carry it forward to full council. You need something from here that I
I
don't.
mean, you can come up with the recommendation to either keep it as it is or to go for insurance. And that will then be incorporated within the minutes, which will not be circulated tomorrow, but they'll probably come out later on Monday, and they'll be at full council for the full council to consider. So if somebody makes a motion that
Just
or
one.
what they want to do, and then we'll have a vote on that, and then see where it takes us.
And then Catherine, right?
Well, right on that point, then I'd like to propose that we maintain the self-insurance practice that would be.
And I'll second it.
Could I speak to Cat first?
No, I was going to say, I recommend that we go forward with the 70 grand a year.
Right, so Rick proposes status quo. Seconded by
Dave Jones.
Dave. So go to the vote on that one then.
Yeah, because your proposal was behaviour insurance.
Yes,
Yeah, so it's really the,
We'll go for so spring, so
I second.
cap for the insurance. Deirdre, second.
right,
So. The proposal from Rick is to keep it status quo. Seconded by Dave. Show of hands to support that. For. Against.
against that proposal.
For, yeah.
let's do it.
So if people abstain, that will still get carried, so we need to do, need to know how many's against the proposal that was proposed.
I'm going to give it.
You've got 4, which was Dave, Rick, 4, Rick's proposal.
You voted against that one.
I'm against, you're against, it's 4 against.
My phones.
Are you,
Phones.
No, it's 4 each way.
are you, have you voted, Cam?
No, I voted for the second one.
But the proposal by Rick is,
But it's against
We're against that.
it says 4 against.
So it's fine.
Sports,
Five against.
four and four. Four to keep 4 against.
Is there councillors here?
Chairs, council.
So, just,
It's got the customer.
aye, that's what I'm saying, so. I hear what you say, Rick, and I hear what you say, but I think the best decision is, and it's only a recommendation, is that we'll carry forward what I would have liked to see that, over insurance. Full council could rule out, but I really feel strong about, because you make very good point, because on that hand, you're saving money. Deirdre makes a good point, I make a good point, is the risk for, my opinion, the risk of losing 17 grand and the next year nothing happens and we've lost it, outweighed against what could happen, but we're gonna probably get 60 or 70 grand for another kids play for us. But if you're happy with that, I'm happy with that. Yeah, that's it.
Well, it's
Carried.
carried. Yeah.
Right, move forward, decision report, item 8, financial software. Out into the line.
For the new members, this council is operating a very good set of accounts on Excel. We're very, I'd say very labor, was created ourselves. And things were going very well with using that product. But as you know, the previous governments are more, make things more digital and what have you. And they started to put in some procedures, some rules, some guidelines where you had to use proper accounting packages that were on the market that could automatically do your VAT returns. Whereas we used to have the Excel package and then we used to have to export it to the HMRC to get that back. Now, that all changed. We've looked at some, previous council gave us the authority to look at some sector-specific software products. We looked at them, but I didn't feel that some of these products had moved on from the 1980s when I was first looking at the financial packages by local authorities. But they had more recent experience. And what we did was we looked at another one called Sniro, which was more of a commercial package, but it ticked all the boxes that we wanted. And it made things a lot easier because when we had to do things with Excel, because we couldn't, for example, on the VAT claims, we had to put them in the cash book, which generated the accounts that the public are entitled to see, and that we use for preparation for the government returns and for the external audit. But we also had to use a system that just solely for VAT. So we're entering it in here and entering it in there. There was a lot of duplication. The more duplication you do, potentially more errors, potentially more time. So we're using Xero. And we got to a point about a month ago where we felt that the majority of things that we want, we are there on. So we brought in the internal auditor that's been appointed by the council. He spent a day here looking at all the processes, looking at, you know, checking the Excel system to the new Xero system. And he gave a very comprehensive and in my eyes, a very glowing report of what's being done today. So that was very reassuring from Elaine and I's point of view, that we were on the right course, somebody independent, an expert had looked at it. And it's really just to inform members that of the position, we're very happy where we are. We're not there yet. We've got it. We've just done a VAT claim using the new system, which I couldn't put in here at the time, but we've done that. That's been accepted by the VAT people. They're starting to process the refund. And all we're looking at now are the fine tuning the year end procedures, where we've got to do the accounts in a particular format for a government appointed audit. So that's where we are there, and it's just really keep you up to date, because you know, that's one of our main responsibilities. You know, we've got all the money that we're collecting from the council taxpayers, and we've got to have a system that accurately records what we're doing with it, what we've got left and everything like that. It's responsible for. So it's just to keep you up to date on that. And once we can bring it in, it will save the practitioners or the practitioner, which in June, an awful lot of time in not having to parallel run with the two systems that we've got at the moment. So it's just to keep you abreast of that situation.
Sorry, can I just ask, is that all right? Whilst I totally 1,000,000% agree with you, you're doing it on Excel spreadsheets, it's that would just be horrendous doing it like that. So software packages are definitely the way to go. But was there any other packages to look at, or was it just decided on Xero, or was because there's obviously a lot of other?
No, we looked at 2 or 3, but
it's just because I use one which is absolutely amazing. I didn't know if you'd looked at other ones as well.
we looked at some sector specific ones.
Right.
But in how we came up with Xero, I mean, I knew people that had used it anyway, but that didn't have any bearing on it. But when we contacted an authority who I used to work with, the guy many years ago, actually implementing accounting packages, it is town council. They came up with the same conclusion that Elaine and I did about some of these sector specific, about they were very clunky, they hadn't really moved on. And I think some of the sector specific ones gave the impression that they'd got into the market and thought, well, that'll do. Whereas this one's a lot more flexible, you can do more with it. But we looked at a few, but you know, it got to a point where we thought, well, we've got to make a decision. We may or may not have looked at the one you used, but certainly for what we do in here.
Yeah, more or less, probably more or less the same.
I think a lot of them are the same when you get to that point, right?
Yeah. But that's brilliant. I mean, it's going to be much easier, time saving and everything by that.
Good, that's right.
One of the things that we did like about Xero was the ability to create your own reports in it. So we're able to go into the system and work out what we need, the information that we need output, and we can get it to that position. And obviously we're looking at trial and like a mock year end, so we can be sure that it's producing the correct information we need. But a lot of systems don't work on an income and expenditure basis like a town council does. So it was just the adaptability of Xero that was really beneficial for us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can print your reports up and your VAT reports, your incomes, your outgoings, you know, it's got columns on the right hand side to tell you what VAT quotas, how much, and everything. It's a great tool. It's much better than the way you've been doing it. You know, it's really time consuming that.
And just finally, what I was going to say, you touched on it there. Excel it's a wonderful product.
It is.
You know, lots of people just add that cell to that cell, but the really the capacity of it, you know, it's used for monitoring government mainframe systems. It does all the efficiency runs on that. And councils, and I know for a fact Northumberland County, North Tyneside and Blythetown, we will still have to use Excel to support some of the things that we've done within Excel.
Yeah.
So it'll not be the big duplication it is now, but it'll be a necessity. So certain things on allotments, certain things on payroll recharges that, you know, we may get in from the county, but we cannot take that to allocate it over the salaries budget because it just wouldn't work. And on the year-end returns from the government, we've got to do it in slightly different format. So that's when we'll have like a specialised Excel spreadsheet to help us on its way. So it'll be mainly zero with the odd kind of support from Excel on various processes.
Okay.
Good, we'll move on. Thank you very much for that. 8 and 9. Don't think there are any of them not to consider.
No.
8 and 10. The next meeting of this committee will be held in the council chamber Tuesday, the 7th of October at 6:30.
25 or 24?
25.
Keep saying 25.